around us. What does that mean to me? Um, in a spiritual sense, to me that means that there's more to this world than what we see. A lot of people live off of what they can touch, what they can test, what's tangible. And personally, I believe the mystery that surrounds us is the spiritual realm, and that the things that we see in the natural are represented by the things going around us spiritually. So scripturally, Romans 6:12 says, "For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, powers, forces of darkness in spiritual places," and principalities. And so, for me personally, I think that a lot of times we have a tendency to look to the physical things, or look to the things that are opposing us in life, and look at people, or but I believe that there's spiritual things going on around us a lot of times that resist us and that stand in the way of that. So the answer for me is, and I believe that the go-between is that God lives in the supernatural. And so for us to enter into that realm, we have to look to Jesus. I believe Jesus was the go-between. He was the door. The word says that no man can enter by any other way other than through him. So I believe that man had attempted to reach God for so long, and God's answer to that was to come down here and to send Jesus to be the door for us to go through in order to access that spiritual realm. So it's like I believe that there's a scripture. It's in Colossians, I believe. It says, God has chosen to make known among the Gentiles the glorious riches of this mystery, which is Christ in you, the hope of glory. So we also have Christ living in us. We can get in touch at any point with God. And Scripture, Romans 8:28 says that all things work together for the good for those who love God, who are called according to his purpose. So it's like, it doesn't matter what event, what circumstance, what situation is going on. I believe if you look for God in the middle of that, that's where the supernatural is revealed. That's where God can be found, and that's where he shows up. And a lot of times, circumstances and situations are just that, or just God waiting to reveal himself. And so I think that mystery surrounds us is us just, again, I hate to keep pointing at Scripture, but it says, when you Jeremiah 29:11 says, I know the plans I have for you, but it goes on to say, you'll find me when you search for me with all your heart. So it's like, when things are happening in life, situations, circumstances, things are out of our control, and we look for God in the midst of that, I believe that's where we cross that barrier in the mystery of God's purpose, our destiny, what God intends for us to see in the midst of it is revealed. And I believe that faith is the key that unlocks the door for that mystery to be revealed, and for us to look beyond the natural and be able to see into the spiritual realm what's really going on, as I would say, and to see beyond what I can touch, what I can test, and to what's really happening from God's perspective. And a lot of people, that may be hard to swallow. They may be hard for them to believe that, but for me personally, I live by that. And not because somebody taught it to me or that I read it in a book, but I've tested it. I've tested it for myself and found it true to be time and time again that when I tested those scriptures, that God shows up, and that you see the mystery of the supernatural unfold around you when you look for it. And I think that's the coolest thing, is that God allows us to experience this life, and when we choose to turn to him through Jesus, the door is unlocked, and those things come through. I love the song Crowder. He said, "Take me back to the garden when the devil lied to me." And again, I just point to the scripture that says we wrestle not against flesh and blood. And a lot of times I think the sin, the temptation, the traps we fall into are because we're led astray. We don't forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. But once our eyes are opened, it's like now we have weapons of righteousness in our right and left hand that we can combat with, because we're not naive, and we're no longer blind to the things that we didn't know. So awesome topic. I love the videos, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.